Jon Rahm arrived at the Masters tournament in 2026 carrying not just the expectations of a former champion, but also the weight of an ongoing debate surrounding LIV Golf and its place in the sport. For Rahm and the other LIV players competing at Augusta National Golf Club, the opening round was never going to be just about chasing the iconic green jacket, it was about defending the credibility of their tour. From the very first tee shot, scrutiny followed the LIV contingent. By the end of Thursday's round, that scrutiny had intensified. Rahm, who has been one of the standout performers on LIV Golf this season, endured a difficult start, carding a disappointing 78. It was a stark contrast to the dominant form that once saw him conquer Augusta and claim victory in 2023. His struggles quickly became a focal point, not just as an individual performance, but as part of a broader narrative questioning whether LIV Golf's structure adequately prepares players for the demands of major championships. Coming into the Masters, Rahm's credentials were strong. He had been in excellent form throughout the LIV season, finishing inside the top 5 in every event he had played. His victory at LIV Golf Hong Kong in March further cemented his status as one of the tour's leading figures. Many observers even suggested that Rahm was rediscovering the level of consistency and dominance that defined his earlier success on the global stage. However, Augusta National is a unique test, one that exposes even the smallest flaws. The firm fairways, lightning-fast greens, and strategic complexity create a challenge unlike any other in golf. For Rahm, everything that could go wrong seemed to happen during that opening round. Missed fairways, inconsistent iron play, and struggles on the greens compounded into a score that left him playing catch-up almost immediately. In the aftermath, Rahm faced pointed questions from the media. Reporters were keen to explore whether the transition from LIV Golf events to a major like the Masters required specific adjustments. The underlying implication was clear: was LIV's schedule, with its different format and course setups, leaving players underprepared for golf's biggest stages? Rahm, however, refused to entertain that line of thinking. His response was as direct as it was dismissive. None, he said when asked about adjustments. Golf is golf. It was a statement that reflected both his confidence and his frustration. Rahm made it clear that, in his view, the fundamentals of the game remain unchanged regardless of the tour or tournament. Whether competing on LIV Golf or at Augusta National, the objective is the same: execute shots, manage the course, and score as low as possible. When pressed further about potential differences between LIV events and the Masters, Rahm doubled down. He insisted that Augusta was no different in principle from any other tournament in the world. His answers were short, firm, and left little room for interpretation. He was not willing to attribute his struggles to the tour he represents, yet, the questions themselves stem from a broader reality. LIV Golf's schedule differs significantly from that of the PGA Tour. In 2026, LIV players had not competed in a US-based event for months, with their last appearance on American soil dating back to August of the previous year. Their most recent tournament before the Masters took place in South Africa, on a course with vastly different conditions compared to Augusta. That contrast has become a central point of debate. While PGA Tour players spend their seasons competing on a variety of demanding courses, such as Pebble Beach, Riviera, and TPC Sawgrass, LIV players often face a different competitive rhythm. Events are fewer, formats differ, and course setups may not always mirror the challenges presented at major championships. One of the most frequently cited examples is the Players' Championship, often regarded as one of the toughest tests outside the majors. In recent years, success at the Players has even correlated with strong performances at the Masters. However, LIV players have not been eligible to compete in that event, limiting their exposure to such high-level preparation. Statistics further illustrate the gap. Of the top 14 players in LIV Golf season standings, only a fraction were present in the Masters field. Over the past 3 years, LIV's representation at Augusta has steadily declined, from 18 players to just 10. Without a clear qualification pathway into majors, that number may continue to shrink. For Rahm, Thursday's performance was an anomaly, at least in his own assessment. He acknowledged that it was one of those rounds where nothing seemed to go right. Despite the poor start, there were glimpses of improvement. In the second round, Rahm managed to find some rhythm, particularly on the back nine, where he played his final 5 holes under par. It was a sign that his game had not completely abandoned him. Still, the damage had already been done. At Augusta, early mistakes can be difficult to recover from, and Rahm found himself needing something extraordinary to stay in contention. Even he admitted that making a significant comeback would require a near-miraculous effort. Rahm was not alone in facing challenges. Bryson DeChambeau, another prominent LIV player, also struggled in the opening round, posting a 79 despite entering the tournament with strong form, including 2 wins this season. His performance added to the narrative that LIV players were finding it difficult to adapt to the unique demands of Augusta, yet, not all LIV players faltered. Tyrrell Hatton provided a contrasting story, one that challenged the criticism directed at the tour. Like Rahm and DeChambeau, Hatton had also come into the Masters after a 2-week break following the South Africa event. However, his results told a different story that in the second round. Hatton delivered a superb performance, shooting a 66, his best round ever at Augusta National. It was a display of precision, composure, and confidence that propelled him up the leaderboard. By the end of the day, he had climbed 35 places and positioned himself firmly in contention. When Hatton was asked about the transition from LIV Golf to the Masters, his response echoed Rahm's sentiments. "There's no adjustment," he said. "It's another tournament that you're at." Hatton emphasized that the mindset remains consistent regardless of the event. For him, the focus is always on competing, hole by hole, and striving to perform at the highest level. The stage may be bigger, and the stakes higher, but the approach does not fundamentally change. He attributed his strong performance to several factors, including softer morning greens and improved ball striking. Over the years, Hatton has become more comfortable at Augusta, learning where to be aggressive and where to play conservatively. His driving accuracy, in particular, has improved, allowing him to navigate the course more effectively. Walking up the 18th hole during his round, Hatton even admitted that he felt confident about securing his best score at Augusta. Although he nearly stumbled with a 3-putt on the final green, he managed to finish strong and maintain his position near the top of the leaderboard. By the end of the second round, Hatton stood at 4 under par, just 3 shots behind Rory McIlroy, who was leading the tournament. It was a remarkable turnaround and a reminder that success at Augusta is influenced by many variables, not just the tour a player competes on. Despite Hatton's success, the broader conversation surrounding LIV Golf remains unresolved. Critics continue to question whether the tour's format and schedule provide sufficient preparation for major championships. Supporters, including players like Rahm and Hatton, argue that golf is ultimately an individual sport, and performance depends on the player rather than the platform. As the Masters progresses, these debates are likely to persist. Every shot played by a LIV golfer will be analyzed not only for its impact on the leaderboard but also for what it represents in the ongoing rivalry between tours. For Rahm, the focus remains on recovery and resilience. Whether he manages to make the cut or not, his stance is unlikely to change. He has made it clear that he will not accept the narrative that LIV Golf is to blame for his struggles. In the end, the Masters is a test of execution under pressure. It rewards those who can adapt quickly, manage adversity, and seize opportunities when they arise. For players like Rahm, DeChambeau, and Hatton, the challenge is not just to compete, but to prove that they belong at the very highest level, regardless of the path they have chosen.